through the magic of public affairs television. More on Monday tonight attempts to solve the timeless riddle of what came first, the chicken or the pre-cooked, quick-frozen Denver omelet. This is a story of eggs and how they get to our breakfast tables, and how the existential 20th century chicken has developed into a sex machine second to none. Eggs, right after this message. You okay? You all right? That's nice. It's 2 o'clock in the morning at a chick hatchery in Dassel, Minnesota. Half a dozen workers are sexing the chicks, separating the males from the females. It is highly skilled, tedious work, requiring good eyesight and a high tolerance for monotony. But the pay is good.
Probably a lot of people think that we throw them hard, you know, and that we're injuring them, but that's not true. The baby chick is very sturdy.
About 36,000 chicks will hatch this morning. Roughly half of them will be female. There being no use for male chicks, they are dumped in barrels and smothered or drowned. The process takes place twice a week while we sleep. The Great Divide. If 18,000 roosters have to be snuffed just hours after they hatch, then they are simply snuffed. There is no room for dead weight and inefficiency in the 21st century egg machine. In the basement of the hatchery, the Buckeye Streamliner is cranking out baby chicks like toast-em poppers. The chicks hatch after a 21-day incubation period, and from the moment they come into this life, they are crowded into aggressive behavior. A pecking order quickly develops. The strong ones pick on the weak ones. Eventually, their pointed beaks will be cut off to a blunt nub, so they can't peck each other to death in the cages. As egg production became modernized and mechanized over the past 2 decades, rare new disease strains also developed. So the final initiation rite for the female baby chicks this morning is a vaccination against a cancerous disease. It is just one of a half-dozen vaccines that will be injected into the birds in the first few days of life. When a hen is born in springtime, her life will be full and pleasant, her eggs abundant. So the next step is to convince the young pullets that they were born in April or May. They are exposed to more and more artificial light to simulate the gradual lengthening of days from spring to summer. The days come and go, and the increased light gradually works its magic on the pituitary gland of the young hen. When she is 45 weeks of age, the hen has reached maximum sexual stimulation and therefore maximum egg production. She is now living in an artificial world where there is daylight for 17 hours each day, and her existence itself is a strange symbiosis between animal and machine. She has become the modern American hen, slightly neurotic perhaps, but one heck of a cog in the wheel. If you've never been under one roof with 62,000 cackling hens, then you really have no idea where an egg comes from. All right, that's enough. Quiet. That's better. Now, what we have here is a hen house, and as we said, there's 62,000 hens. It is one of the largest, the most modern in Minnesota, owned by the Rightco Products Company of Monticello. They call this confined environmental housing. That means that the hens live in cages and their feet never touch the ground. 5 or 6 hens to each cage less than 1.5 feet square, stacked 3 high in 8 rows, 479 feet long. Sometimes in the fine dust of chicken feet and feathers, you stand at one end of the barn and you can't see the other end. The life expectancy of a hen is 4 years, but caged hens are turned into chicken soup after 1.5 years because their egg production falls off. The hens you see here are only a few months away from the soup factory. They're getting old and tired now, but together they still lay 39,000 eggs every day. Most of the cost of egg production is tied up in chicken feed. This hen house alone consumes 6 tons of feed a day. The mash is mostly corn, but includes a protein supplement, limestone and oyster shell. Each of the more than 12,000 cages has its own drinking fountain, and the hens drink more than 3,000 gallons of water a day. Everything is automatic. The 17 hours of artificial daylight, the miles of conveyor belts, the ventilator fans. Even the manure is removed by remote control. The feed literally goes in one end and the eggs come out the other. The baby chick is now a full-grown conduit, a brief living, breathing moment in a process that is otherwise totally, electrically, mechanically automated. At this juncture in the egg machine, the chicken becomes a memory. The egg is now the central character. And although they are worth only 12 to 13 cents a dozen now, they must still be washed, candled, graded, and packaged, which of course will make the price go up. All of this takes place at Rightco's processing plant in Monticello. 1,800,000 eggs come into the Rightco facility every week. If that figure sounds impressive, consider this. Residents of the Twin Cities consume that many eggs almost every day. In fact, as big as Rightco is, it is not the largest egg processor in the state. At least one other company packages 4 million eggs per week. And it's a process that never ends, from the incubators and the chick hatchery to the cartons in the packaging plant. In the words of the old newsreels, it is industry on parade. From the earliest days of mythology, the egg has been worshipped as a great symbol of creation. And today we still toss them, roll them, bury, dye, and hunt them. All of which seems remote in the clinical environment at the back of the Rightco plant, where they are graded and inspected by the Department of Agriculture. With so much importance attached to this primal life form, it appears that the egg is here to stay. But the way in which it reaches your table in the future will be drastically altered. This is the cracking room at Rightco. Those eggs that are too thin-skinned to make it through the packing machines are thrust into the growing market for processed foods. The whites are automatically separated from the yolks, and the yolks are piped into bulk tanks for inspection and pasteurization. In some of the vats, salt or sugar is added. The whites are shipped to other food processing plants in tanker trucks, while in another room, liquid whole eggs are packaged, like milk, in gallon containers for institutional use. All of this takes place in the utmost sanitary conditions, with one worker continuously washing down the floor to keep the room squeaky clean, and, no doubt, to keep one's fellow workers from drowning in a sea of meringue. And finally, in the Rightco kitchen, the liquid whole eggs that come from the cracked shells, that come from the caged hens, that come from the chick hatchery, are turned into perfectly round, slightly fluffy, pre-cooked, fast-frozen, vacuum-sealed brand name Denver omelets. To fulfill this odyssey of the egg, we followed those Denver omelets to the cafeteria of a Twin City federal office building. Denver sandwich, coleslaw, French fries, the special of the day. We found that most of the customers for the egg sandwich had no idea how and where the modern egg was produced. We found a couple of people who complained that eggs just don't seem to taste the way they used to taste. But then most of the customers also seem to agree that an egg is an egg, any way you scramble it. Not long ago, one of our Moore on Monday producers heard about a new experiment in the production of chicken eggs. It seems that down in Texas, there's one of those giant egg farms where they figured out a way to recycle the chicken manure so it can be fed back to the hens, thereby saving on feed costs. Now, we realize that the care and feeding of hens is inevitably going to become a more efficient and mechanized process, like everything else. But it's still fair to ask, how efficient do we need to be, largely in the name of more profits?